Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 7 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss. We're in game number 1 in the top left hand corner of the map. Playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have none other than Reynor and his opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Protoss probes. We're looking at Zoun's main Nexus. Now, I heard that this particular best of 7 series is amazing. It was played during the Masters Coliseum a couple weeks ago at this point. I haven't had a look at the games yet, so I'm very excited to find out exactly what ended up going down. I don't actually know who ended up winning this. I just know that neither of these two players ended up winning the Masters Coliseum. So, you know, this meaning, you could, I guess, consider this series therefore meaningless, but this was played during the playoffs and later on in the tournament. And I guess for one of these players at this stage in the tournament, both of them were defeated. Yeah, both of them were eliminated. But that shouldn't really make this particular series any less fun. Now, of course, we're all very familiar with Reynor. Reynor has been a top-tier player for many, many years at this point in time. Zoun is somebody who completed his military service about 5 to 6 months or so ago. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was sometime in September. So Koreans, they have a mandatory military service that they have to complete. Usually it seems to be about 1.5 years to like 2 years long or so on average, depending on the branch of the military that you serve in. And generally speaking, for a lot of StarCraft pros, that means, well, a forced retirement. Zoun has been very good at the game for a very long time. He was really on the up and up. And then, well, yeah, he had to go do his military service. You get called upon, and then you just simply have to leave. And as far as I understand, you're not supposed or allowed to make any money whilst you're in the military, meaning that for pro gamers, I mean, I guess you can maybe practice on the weekends or in the evenings or something every once in a while, but generally speaking, the vast majority of them just quit. Now, Zoun has had some time once more to get back at StarCraft after completing his service. And from what I've heard, he's getting ridiculously good. Apparently, he's been dominating a lot of the Korean events as of late. I haven't really had a look at a lot of his games yet, so I'm excited to find out how good he currently is against somebody of a Reynor's caliber. I think we all know that Reynor was ridiculous. This man has been, yeah, I mean, like I said, he won the World Cup, of course, previous world champion. He's incredibly good. And Zoun, in my mind, is a bit more of a wild card. Now, he doesn't necessarily play any very fancy strategies, at least that's not what he used to do. So I'm not really expecting anything wild and wacky and crazy new build orders, but you never know. It's going to be a Stargate build here to start things off, nothing out of the ordinary there. We did have a little bit of harassment as well on the other side of the map, but of course, nothing all too odd here either. As Reynor decides to open up with a triple hatchery, he pulled all the drones out of gas, decided to go for a metabolic boost at the appropriate time, and, well, not leaving any of the workers in gas means that he can at the very least still pump out a bunch of those queens. Okay. It all comes down to the Oracle harassment. We do need to start one. Hello? There we go. Oh, we're not going Oracle. Okay. I was wondering why we weren't starting it up any sooner. It's because we're going into a Void Ray first. So right from the get-go, Zoun is, well, throwing a bit of a curveball. Here's the thing about Void Ray builds. You can effectively deny all scouting from the opponent, right? So as long as the Void Ray is at home, you can deny any Overlords. You can make sure that these Zerglings are not going to be able to get in. You can secure a third Nexus relatively easily too. The Void Ray is an excellent, I don't want to die to anything stupid type of build. Now, historically, this was always used to try and hide build orders, to hide strategies. These days, it seems to be just a normal way to start things off, albeit one that's a little bit slower than the conventional Oracle first. So we're going to see a Nexus at like 405 here. A third Nexus, that is about 15 to 20 seconds later, that if you do go for an Oracle first, not the end of the world, but I'm mostly curious here in the follow-up from the Protoss player, because it is going to be a Twilight Council. I don't see a Forge anywhere yet. This could certainly be Glaive to Depths, for example. A little bit odd, not super popular, but of course this is a best of 7, so you can't really be playing the same build every single time. It's Charge! Okay, so we're starting off this series. Zoun is starting off this series, apparently is what I wanted to say. Zoun starting the series very aggressively. So this is Void Ray into Oracle with a third Nexus, but I think the third Nexus is going to be mostly fake. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but I believe he is going to be, is he going to do a fake probe transfer? It seems like maybe we are planning on doing something along those lines. He just pulled all the probes out of gas, just leaving a single one in there. That'll be enough to, well, I guess produce eventually maybe like an observer or something along those lines. But I believe we're gonna go into a prism, a load of gateways, and then just zealot after zealot after zealot after zealot. This third nexus is mostly just here for funsies. It's to let the Zerg player look at it for a little bit. Reynor is scouting around. He's trying to figure out what's happening. Maybe he can pick up on the fact that there are no workers here, and this is a big scout. Reynor obviously always very diligent. Now he does see, that's a fake probe transfer. He does see a probe transfer right now. He starts up roaches. He does not quite believe that what he has spotted here makes a lot of sense. Why would there be that many of those units flying around or going around right now from the natural towards the third? Although it is actually a decent amount of production. Zoun also does start up some additional probes, maybe just to show the animation there to the Zerg player that something was coming up. Reynor though is not buying it. He did make a big round of roaches before returning back to droning now. Okay, so where's the prism? Here it is. We've got ourselves a bunch of gateways. 8 of them in total, with the 2 right now finishing up. Problem, of course, with this build is that you can't really micro it very much. The majority of your micro is attack move. I actually love this position here by Reynor. Tucking his roaches fully walled in into the mineral line. So he's got a couple Evo chambers on the sides. This is buying him an awful lot of time. Question is, though, is it going to be good enough? Another Evo chamber wall. Roach Warren, though, at the front. Losing the Roach Warren here is absolute pain, because that means that his only alternative option is going to be Zerglings. Now, Zerglings are obviously an easy kill for Zealots, and Zoun is just doing a Zealot all-in in game number 1 of this series. There's no way he's gonna do this multiple games, right? I mean, maybe one more time throughout the series, but I like that he's bringing this out this early on, just to set the pace right from the get-go. This is a major skill check. You know what? I think he may have just gotten the job done. A filthy build. The roaches actually were stuck. They had to kill their own Evo chamber there. Zoun looked at those Evos. He looked at the Walden units, and it was like, you know, I guess you can sit there behind your wall. That means that a bunch of your roaches are going to be taken out of the equation. Right now, Zoun is ahead as far as the worker count goes, and he wins game number 1. That's an amazing way to start off a series. Mostly because going into a match like this, I can imagine for Reynor, Zoun is also a bit of a question mark. I can imagine that Reynor is also not 100% aware of how good Zoun currently is after his military service. And that previous threat, I mean, I don't want to make it sound any worse than it is, because it's a good build order, but that is something that doesn't really require that much skill. Right? I mean, if you practice that a couple of times in a custom game, if you're like a Master League player or whatever, you can probably execute it as well as Zoun just did in the first game of the series. It's a build that is extremely good if Zerg, well, gets tricked, right? If they don't figure out exactly what's going on. And it's something that really does hide the rest of your skill level quite nicely. So, Reynor didn't really learn much from that first game. Does it mean that Zoun wants to cheese every single match? Probably not. I think Zoun is just playing an intelligent series here. But for Reynor right now, he probably has an even bigger question mark as far as Zoun's current performance is. Because he didn't really learn much from that first game, right? Like, yeah, it's a Zealot all-in, but, I mean, that's about all you know. There's not really a lot of skill expression when it comes to microing Zealots, right? Or making a third Nexus at the 4-minute mark, or sending a Void Ray out onto the map. I mean, the macro does take a little bit of practice, but there's no denying that at the pro level, the vast majority of pro gamers, actually every single one of the Protoss players, they would be able to execute a build that looks 99.8% similar. Once more, we've got ourselves a Void Ray first. Once more, we've got ourselves an Oracle follow-up. I don't see a Twilight Council yet. He does have 100 gas now. Are we going to add something like that in the mix? No, it looks like we are going to be going into a bit of a quicker third Nexus, or at the very least, an attempt to go ahead and do so. So for Reynor, this can already turn into a tilter now, because you have seen the exact same thing 2 games in a row. This is going to be a different follow-up. We know that. Reynor does not. Reynor has no idea what the follow-up plan here for Zoun is going to be. He can't really scout yet either, so he needs to be playing this quite carefully. It is going to be a Twilight Council, but this one is after the third Nexus. Quite a bit, actually, after the third Nexus as well. So I would imagine, as we do have an Oracle here trying to swoop in, getting a few kills, but nothing extreme. 2 drones in total is quite good. But I would imagine that this is going to be Blink this time around. So a much more conventional follow-up. Something that we see in the vast majority of the Protoss versus Zerg games. Okay. Cheeky little zealots. By the way, if you are a Protoss player on the ladder and you're struggling against Zerg, I think I guess we can call it 2.5. 2.5 base zealot all-ins. Extremely strong. And it really isn't that difficult. That's the nice thing about oh my god, what? Really? So this one's much later, though. This Twilight Council is like a half minute later than the previous one. And it's apparently going to go down with +1 ground weapons too. Zoun is going for a charge all-in back to back. This is going to be a variant of it, though, where he's got the +1 ground weapons, and he's also going Templar Archives, meaning that he can dump his gas onto Archons and just make a whole lot of Zealots. +1 is really good because this allows the Zealots to 2-shot Zerglings that are unupgraded, rather than 3-shot, meaning that they take 1 less attack for every single Zergling to kill. That's a lot. Also, at this point, Zoun did warp in a few Stalkers, making Reynor think, yep, that it is indeed going to be the good old, well, Stalker follow-up. Man, Zoun is playing like a bully, and I love it. Yeah. I mean, maybe encouraging bullying is not, but you know, it's a powerful build. It's a good strategy. Now, here's Reynor's weapon of choice. He decides to go Ling into Roach Speed into Spire. So the Spire is going to be quite nice, and he will have the option to make Roaches. But if he is in a mood, right, to like start saving up minerals and gas, and he wants to make a dozen Mutas all in one go, he's gonna be in a world of trouble. Because he won't be making that many Roaches. He definitely won't be making Blind Ravagers. Now, he does start up a round of Roaches here, which is important. But I think Zoun is just about ready to go across the map. This is off of 3 bases. And if the Mutas come out, it's going to be really good for Reynor. Because, I mean, the anti-air here is going to be Archons. Zealots, though, can be cleaned up pretty easily. And with some magic boxing, Archons are also quite killable. I like that he's moved like this, taking control of the watchtower, ensuring that there's no Zerglings scouting any of these move-outs. Yep, we are just delaying this a little, and then I guess we're going to go for an attack. We need 1 more Templar dose down, and we are kind of on a timer. The timer is, the Spire over here, which is now fully erect inside of the main base of the Zerg. Can I just casually say that? I don't know if I can casually say that. Anyways, I think Reynor, though, has figured out exactly that something is a little bit off. I think I'm publishing this on, I'm publishing this on Valentine's Day, so I guess I can use that wording. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Anyway, Spire is now here. Mutas are coming up. Reynor has seen that something was indeed a little cursed, and Zoun decides to make the decision to go all the way back home. Smash like and subscribe, by the way. I am apparently supposed to mention this, dude. It says it in my YouTube dashboard that I apparently don't mention that you should probably hit the like button. Videos where I ask people to hit the like button actually perform way better than videos where I don't ask. And I rarely ask. So, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anyway, Zoun decides to make the executive call here to go back home. So he built up that entire build, and then he was like, nope. I don't like it very much. I think he found himself a little bit too delayed. Now his Nexus here at the bottom is in a world of trouble. He is going for a Phoenix. But I think he saw that his opponent already had so many Roaches. Like, there is something to be said, I guess, for backing off there. But the problem is, Reynor obviously has been, well, macroing and making an awful lot of stuff for a long time. A couple of the Archons here caught between a bunch of Roaches, and now the Mutas are headed into the main base. At least there's a Photon Cannon and a Phoenix waiting. You can awkwardly warp in whatever, but the majority of the rest of the Protoss army is already gone. Void Ray trying its best to add a bit of damage into the mix as well. There's no anti-air here other than those Mutas. So I don't think Reynor is going to be able to win with this attack, but he is certainly securing a nice advantage for himself. Because Protoss doesn't even have a 4th Nexus yet. That 4th Nexus that we saw building at the bottom of the map is already gone. Yeah. I mean, it is important, though, for Reynor not to overextend. Because, yeah, Reynor took a nice advantage there, but it's not like his economy is amazing. He's got 77 drones. Yeah, he's got more income than the opponent, but those trades have also not been the most efficient. It is very easy to overextend. Mutas are going to lose value over time now, especially once Blink is done. I don't believe we're going to see any additional mutas added into the mix. So maybe they can be used to like snipe a prism or something like that a little bit later on. But Zoun is now retaliating on the other side of the map. He's been making army for a long while, and normally you would expect the Protoss to be rebuilding a Nexus at this point. He decides to snipe one of the bases of the Zerg instead. So rather than going into a fourth base of his own, he's sniping one of the expansions of the Zerg player. He is going to need another base, though, in a couple minutes' time. Now the Banelings are here. The Zealots do charge at them. Nice attempted splitty right there, though, by Zoun, mitigating at least some of the damage. Zealots chasing this down, but I think Zoun needs to go home. Can't really be following this army up towards the high ground very well with the units that he's got right now. Oh, well, Blink is finishing up. He is feeling like maybe that's the best way to go about it, but yeah, Reynor apparently agrees with me. He already wants to add a new hatchery down in this position. Void Ray is going to escape for now, but I think the Mutas will be able to make quick work of it eventually. +2 melee, by the way, is also on the horizon, which is a nice upgrade for Reynor. Zoun already finishing his own. Reynor wants to counterattack now and see if he can snipe a potential 4th Nexus, but there is none. Yep, this is going to give him the information that he needs. He's going to check the other possible locations. There's one over here, and then one more on the far left. That will apparently be one of the spots where Zoun is planning on making a base. But this is going to be a difficult one to pull off. That was sketchy, though, for Reynor. Reynor does have that Baneling speed. Yeah. +2 melee also makes Banelings better. So I guess that's a good idea. If he can actually kind of jump this right now. This is, of course, while a lot of those Banelings are still morphing in. I don't know if there's enough, though. Ooh, an Archon here. An Archon can take like 20 Baneling hits. Good splitty there as well on the Stalkers. Does Zoun, though, have enough firepower? A couple of the Banelings actually, okay, slipped through the cracks, and then immediately we also had some damage over here in the Natural expansion. That immediately forces the Protoss to tap out. And that will take us to the home of Shark Bro himself. We find ourselves on the Abyssal Reef. I'm sure Shark Bro will say hello before the ending of this game. He's somewhere over here hiding in the... Oh! Hey, buddy! Is this... Oh, sorry. I'm going to your... There is his face. Sorry. I mean, like I said, it is Valentine's Day, but maybe we should be... You know, sometimes it's difficult to notice the difference. Yeah, sometimes, especially with sharks, you know, they're streamlined and all that. It's, it happens. Stargate opener for Zoun. I actually didn't realize you could see Shark Bro through the fog of war. I guess he's just on idle, but I actually thought that a unit had to have seen him before he would appear in the fog of war. Dude, we learn something new every day. These are the types of details that we need to know more of. I need to know the routines of Shark Bro in particular. Okay, well, Stargate it is. Oracle, nope, it's going to be a Void Ray. Back to back to back a Void Ray first. Now, I wonder what Reynor learned from that previous match. First off, he learned that Zoun is a bit of a jokester. Back-to-back Zealot push? Really? With charge? No quick blink? Just straight charge 2 times in a row? I mean, that's a little weird. Secondly, I also think, though, that Reynor looked at some of the micro there and probably considered it to be quite sloppy. At least when it comes to the absolute highest ranking Protosses. If you look at, like, for example, Max Packs, if you look at Hero, they micro a little bit better than that. And that's not me being a jerk to Zoun, it's mostly just me complimenting those other guys, because they really have moved the bar over the last couple of years. Especially Max Packs and Hero, in my mind, their control is just sublime. Now, what is this? Overlord speed first. Yeah, I think... So I think Reynor is looking at those previous games and is like, yo, I couldn't scout at all because of this Void Ray shenanigans. It doesn't seem to be super aggressive all-ins on the back of it. I mean, I guess maybe the game 1 type of all-in was a bit of a tricky one, but that was by no means the quickest charge slot all-in. With this, with Overlord speed, at the very least he can secure some sort of vision around the map. This is costly. This is about the same cost of a lair, a little bit less. But at the very least he's going to be able to get scouting done after you know, he gets that upgrade finished, and at the very least, it should keep him safe for the next few minutes in the game. So Reynor is thinking, oh, this guy seems to be a bit of a trickster. We are not gonna try and, well, lose to something stupid. This is an important series. The Masters Coliseum had, like, I think, $15,000 on the line. Something along those lines, so a substantial amount of cash. We're not gonna lose to some silly Zealot all-ins back to back to back to back to back, right? Like, that would not be the way to continue in this particular tournament. Now, this is double Void Ray. 2 Void Rays. 2 Void Rays is weird. Oracle, in the meantime, gets some damage done. This is also a strange follow-up, though. So, Reynor did see it, but did he click on it? That's my main question. That could very well be a fleet beacon and a second Stargate, right? Like, there's a lot of different buildings that could represent. This is not an easy call right now. So it's Void Ray into Oracle into Void Ray. Zoun is apparently now a fan of the Void Ray, which is very interesting to me. We're once more, we're once more going Zealots with charge, +1 ground weapons, and then another Void Ray. I'm not sure what to make of this. He's gonna make the beam thick right now. Trying to use the prismatic alignment. It allows those units to do extra damage to armored, like, for example, these structures. Honestly, we have had Zealot all-ins. We've had Mass Void Ray. We've had Oracles. Maybe Zoun is taking a page out of the Gold League book. Like, next game, he's rushing out Dark Templar, or like Dark. Game after that, we see 4 gateways on the other side of the map. He just starts running Zealots in at minute 2. Like, Zoun, what are we doing right now? This is a weird thing to scout, though, right now if you're Reynor. Like, what exactly have you seen? Reynor apparently has decided that the build that Zoun is playing is garbage. So he is gonna go for a Hydra Queen attack. I think at least we're gonna be bringing the Queens across inside of these Overlord balloons, and maybe we're gonna drop them. Maybe we're gonna drop some units in the natural instead. Maybe that's the plan. Okay, I thought maybe he wanted to go for an all-in and move into the opponent's third base, but no, we're gonna be dropping them inside of the natural expansion instead. I'm not sure about this, to be honest. It's very easy for Zoun to, well, take a needle, attach them to the front of the Void Ray, and then just pop the balloons. I believe that's how it works anyway. Lurker dead on the back of this, together with an infestation pit, so we will be seeing probably our first hive in this series. This is a very obvious location to be attacking from. Protoss players just never seem to be checking this area, which is a bit funny to me. Oh, we're gonna do 1 Overlord in the main base? And then 1 in the natural? Or maybe 1 in the main base and then 1 a little bit later on in the same location too. No, 1 in the natural, 1 in the main base, army over here at the front. Storm right now has been spotted. Where in the world are those Void Rays? Well, they're all over here. Drop in the main base though, gets denied. Drop in the natural expansion, also gets denied. Well, there was an attempt. And at the very least, I guess this bought some time for Reynor. Reynor now has managed to, well, make his way up towards that hive tech. If we give him another minute or so, he's going into a 5th hatchery too. What's interesting, though, is that Reynor right now is desperately trying to play a macro game, which is exactly what the vast majority of Zerg players are now trying to avoid when they go up against Protoss. So I'm curious to see how this is going to work out. Because, yeah, Zoun has been a bit of a tricky boy. But also, I don't really hate what he's doing. Like, this is... He's not really all-inning. It's weird to see Zealots with charge this early on. Generally, when we see Zealots with charge, it's played like the one that we saw in the first game. So, some sort of all-in. But this seems to be Zoun just going Zealots with charge as, like, a core unit in his army. I think Reynor is reading this as an all-in right now. He's got a bunch of lurkers, which is awesome and all. But this is really not that committed here from Zoun. Zoun now sees a lurker, he's gonna go home. Reynor already canceled a base. On the back of this, though, we have a fleet beacon with 2 additional Stargates. Actually, a very, very intelligent Protoss build order here. These Zealots are gonna get countered as well. I haven't really seen anybody play quick Zealots with charge into a proper macro game like this. I don't know if this was the like the idea right from the outset here from Zoun. But I don't think it's a bad spot for him to be in at all. I mean, he's got 4 bases now. He's got the double gas here finishing up 2. In order to properly play Skytles, you really do need to make sure that you get yourself at least 8 gases as Protoss. So he's got that secured now. Mothership coming up. This gets scouted now by Reynor, who goes for the contamination on the Nexus. The least used ability in the entire game. It is going to make a unit that is certainly already taking a long time to produce, even longer. So it's a bunch of energy on the Overseer. Did the Overseer die? No, it's right over here. It's that ability right over there. Generally speaking, we only ever see the little changelings drop to the floor. But Contamination, I feel like it's one of those abilities we will see more as time goes on, because it's actually very powerful. But you can temporarily disable production there. Reynor's got to try and see if he can punish this relatively greedy Protoss follow-up. But Charge is going to be quite powerful. I think this Nexus on the low ground is going to go. Yeah, Reynor has decided that it is going to go as well. He wants more, though. He doesn't want just this base. It looks to me like he also wants to have the high ground. Getting the Cyber Core here would be nice. +1 is already researching. Mothership would be the saving grace here, because activating the Cloak here would be amazing. Or, well, you could snipe the Overseers at that point and just fly around. There's a lot more units available, though, and it looks to me that Zoun actually has enough stuff, even without the Mothership. Even without the additional Tempest. Even without the +1. Expertly handled here once again by Zoun. I have not seen a build like this before, but this is really good. Reynor's gonna try and do a Reynor thing, so his plan is to try and smother this Protoss player in aggression. Reynor obviously ridiculously fast. He's always known for having incredibly high APM and, well, phenomenal multitasking. So he is hoping right now that he can maybe catch the Protoss player off guard, but it's not like Zoun is playing a slow game. 376 APM, especially now that the early and the mid game are done. Generally, Protoss will get faster from here. That is not slow. So multitasking should be quite good. It'll be a major skill check, that's for certain, but he's making his transition towards a proper late game now. It is critical, though, that Zoun splits up some of his units. He already has a photon cannon here. Additional static defense coming up on the high ground, too. Lurkers moving, though, over here on the bottom of the Protoss bases, or at the bottom of the Protoss bases. The Overlord balloons, in the meantime, are heading on over towards the third. So this army here for Zerg is mostly just present to try and drag all of those Protoss troops away. And I think this could certainly deal a lot of damage. If he recalls, there's going to be aggression from the back instead. So Zoun, yep, he is going to have to multitask here. And I believe he's not in the best of positions for it. So the Protoss air army moves on over in this direction. In the meantime, though, we have aggression over here over at the third base. We have a Zergling attempt over at the front, too. How much damage can this army in the back do? Because this is going to get cleaned up. But how much damage can these units here at the front do as well? So already so many probes fall. And this is what Reynor does better than anybody else. Hello, ladies. Yeah, this is something he does better than basically anybody else out there. Very difficult to pull off. 34 probes just like that. It is expensive. Obviously, that wasn't a free push by any stretch of the imagination, but Brenda, Karen, and Margaret also wanted to join in. Oh, a little bit of a rest is important sometimes to, you know, when you see a little park bench, you just sit down in it for a little bit and enjoy the view. Well, it's a holiday for them on the Abyssal Reef, too. Still, though, Reynor has poked the bear. And while he did kill a lot of economy, Zoun is not rebuilding it, meaning that Zoun is reserving army supply. He is trying to see if he can go full bulldozer on this Zerg player, and if he can obtain the victory just by cruising through all of those expansions. +2 is a big upgrade. I really think Reynor should have tried to snipe the Cyber Core. Honestly, the first time he went up there, it would have been big. Maybe he can still get it. That would be amazing for him, but Zoun is effectively going all in right now with the army that he's got. Big Zergling Hydra run by, moving across the map too. Keep in mind that the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. That is something worth noting here, because Reynor is going to be able to make a race for it pretty easily. In the meantime, though, Zoun is also carving a path through all of those hatcheries. So this is hatchery number 2 going down. We have another Nexus now under fire. Hydras from the high ground too, trying to just be as annoying here as possible. It looks to me like Reynor does not want to fight this army head on, but he's gonna have to address it before too long, doesn't he? Yeah, he is gonna go home. He is gonna go home right now. He has been making a lot of Corruptors. Corruptors trying to swoop around the site. We need good Storms. Storms are absolutely critical. There's only 2 Archons. 3 Archons in total. Where's the third one? Okay, that one is awkwardly over here. Some Storms would be handy here as well. Don't lose any of the Templar for free. Okay, well, we have a bunch of those Zerglings going down, I suppose, and at least an Archon gets added in, which I don't hate. It all depends on how the fight between the Skytals, the Storm, and the Corruptors will go. Zoun also trying to wonder right now, though, whether or not he even needs to be aggressive, because he did snipe a lot of those mining bases. Yeah, he didn't kill that many drones, but it's not like there will be a lot of mineral fields left. Okay, a couple of free Corruptors, not bad. Hatchery coming up at the bottom of the map now here for Reynor. Dark Shrine. Out of the Gold League playbook, baby. This entire playstyle from Zoun is basically Gold League Protoss, but then at an extremely high level. More hatcheries are building all over the place. Zealots would be easily able to snipe it down, but he doesn't know where they are. Zoun believes that these expansions are going to be retaken instead. Zealots at the bottom have now seen that newly acquired base by Reynor, and Zoun wants to try and see if he can knock it down before it gets going. This is Reynor's lifeline. Yep, that hatchery, no cancel. It is going to go down. In the meantime, we have the Corruptors hanging out inside of the main base. Zerglings are heading on over in the same direction. Recall with a bunch of Zealots towards that newly acquired Nexus up north. In the meantime, Zoun is knocking at the front door of the Zerg player, and this is Reynor's natural. How in the world do you do anything here? Those Corruptors need to go back home. Drones and Hydras evacuating the main base, but I mean, even if you kill this expansion, you will still need to deal with the Protoss army. And I don't believe that he can really do anything. I don't believe that he can really do anything about this Protoss death ball. I'm impressed with how calmly Zoun is playing this out. Most players would be panicking. Ever since they lost most of that economy, they'd be moving across the screen, just desperately trying to get the job done as quickly as possible. But Zoun seems to be in control in these very hectic scenarios. How many structures do we have? We have 1 hatchery. We have 1 hatchery and a couple of spore crawlers. That's it. If Zoun kills it, that's game over. A little bit of mining here left as well for Protoss. Both players, though, supply blocked at this point in time, and I don't even really know if it's worth making any pylons here in addition to the ones that he's got. He must realize at this point that his army is phenomenal. Reynor did smash his piggy bank, and he did get a couple Vipers out before any sort of hive ended up going down, before he lost all of his main base, but Revelation will reveal that some of these units are over here. I think Zoun should have seen it. At least he should have gotten a glimpse. Zoun doesn't know, though, about this mining expansion in the far top right, but if I look at the army count, it's just not good enough for Zerg. Zoun is in no hurry. Oh, maybe he can fish. Okay, 1 Viper gets feedbacked. Another good abduction, though. Nice snipes right here by Reynor. That's 2 Tempests down the drain. He did lose a Viper as well. Yep, and now Zoun finds the expansion. He now knows that there is indeed some Zerg mining happening in this section of the map. Tempest, though, with their tectonic destabilizers, deal double damage to structures. They just deal so much. He has still, no, he actually lost the Oracle. Okay, I was gonna say, he had an Oracle previously, another abduction. He had an Oracle previously, but I think he's just moving in towards the high ground now. He wants to shut down all of these units. Storms on any of the Corruptors would be nice, or maybe Archons underneath. Reynor realizes, though, that he just simply doesn't have the numbers, and Zoun obtains the victory. That was a very difficult game to read. I'm surprised Zoun read it as easily as he seemed to make it look, right? Because he was forced into an all-in, then he sort of committed to the all-in for a little bit, and then he realized, wait a second, I actually don't believe, despite not really killing any of my opponent's drones, but I don't believe I have to be that aggressive. I'm pretty sure, despite having like no probes of my own, I don't really have to be in such a hurry. Crisis management there from Zoun was absolute S tier. I think still some of the unit control could be improved on. Specifically in the late game when there wasn't really that much going on. We had those Vipers dealing way too much damage. Those could have been denied a lot better. But that's mostly just me being a little nitpicky. But strategically speaking and game sense wise, Zoun absolutely on point there. I think Reynor also expected the Zerg to be, or the Protoss rather, to be more aggressive when he dealt all that damage on the other side of the map. Like, he came in with the Overlord drops, the Lurker counterattack, and he killed, like, what, 40-something workers? And then he decided, you know what? 40 workers? Didn't need them anyway. I'll just go kill a couple of your hatcheries and go back home. I think Reynor did not quite expect that particular move. Well, now we find ourselves on ley lines. And for the first time in the series, we have an Oracle first. That's funny. Second Oracle, too, on the back of this. That's great. No, he cancels that one. He cancels that one in favor of a faster Twilight Council. Curious cancel, because he already almost had the resources for it. Restarts an Oracle now. I think he could have let that Oracle finish and then started up the Twilight Council. Twilight Council is 100 gas. When he canceled the Twilight or the Stargate and he started up the Twilight Council, he had like an 80 gas left over. It was only a few seconds away in the first place. Anyway, are we going to go charge again? We have seen charge 3 games in a row. This has to be Blink. It should be Blink. Or nothing. We could also just do nothing. How about that? Okay, we go Blink. Alright. It's funny though, because those previous games kind of proved to me that this game is not quite as well figured out as we always believe it to be. Right? Yeah, there's a standard. Yeah, there's 15 years of history. There's a lot of inspiration to draw upon, but maybe Charge is actually the better build. Or maybe it only works because Blink is generally the better build, and Zergs are automatically countering those sorts of attacks too. So they're trying to play against Blink, and then it turns out Charge is better because of it. If you go blind Charge every single time, it won't work anymore. And maybe that's why Zoun is now bringing out the Blink build instead. There's a lot of layers of aggression. Either way, Reynor needs to defend here early on. He's got a bunch of Zerglings out to just try and be a nuisance with, but so far, not really achieving too much. Once more though, going into the +1 melee. We've seen him do this, I think 3 games in a row now. It's a couple different ways you can think about the upgrades for Zerg. Most of the time these days, yeah, it's probably about 50-50. We see a lot of missile first, we see a lot of melee first. It mostly comes down to the timing of the evolution chamber. So a lot of the Zergling upgrade timing, so this is +1 melee, are lined up to work against the Blink upgrade finishing up. So this is a relatively late +1 melee, meaning that Reynor won't be able to just snipe those Stalkers with relative ease. And he's gonna have to dance just with sheer Zergling numbers. Zoun playing the most conventional game of the series, at least from his perspective so far. Nothing all too weird. Nothing all too wacky. So he's gonna try and show us here how good he is at playing a conventional game. Okay. Oh, we're doing a surround? A surround on 5 Zerglings. He really wanted them. Blink! I think we could have blinked, man. Probably not worth it, though, because you never know where those additional links are gonna be showing up, and looks like the majority of them ended up going down here regardless. Infestation Pit going up before a Hydra Den here for Reynor. So we have to keep an eye out on exactly why we're doing it. Like, what's the point in going for an Infestation Pit right now? Is it Swarm Host? Is it Quick Hive? Are we going Ultras? What's the plan? Stasis wards all over the map again. I think this build is way better when you go triple Oracle, man. The additional Stasis wards that you get out of the 3rd Oracle is big. It is indeed going to be a Hive, 2nd Evo Chamber, and a Baneling Nest. So we are likely going to go Adrenal Glands for the Zerglings. Now +1 melee finishes up, by the way, and immediately those links deal so much damage. Now we're probably gonna go, though, into the good old melee setup right here for Reynor. So he'll probably go into the +2, yep. And then maybe even Ultralisk Cavern. I mean, when you think about it, what has Zoun shown us so far that would actually stop Ultras? Have we seen a single Immortal? Actually, we did in the second game of the series, didn't we? But not a whole lot. It doesn't seem like Zoun is mixing in Immortals in his default unit composition. And that really is the main answer against Ultras. Then again, whenever I do see Ultras, it never really does anything, so... I would like to see the big chompers coming out. This is a Valentine's Day update after all, right? Anyway. I would love to see the big chonkers coming out, man, is all I'm saying. But I just don't know if it is the way to go. Oh, yep, there it is. It's the only thing that makes sense. Dude, people are gonna accuse me again of pre-watching the game. I swear to God, I have not seen these games. When it smells like Ultralisks, though, it's probably Ultralisks. Templar Archives, coming up. Zealot run by in the far top left. It's actually a big compliment. Yeah, I've had people accuse me of pre-watching games when I haven't. It is very similar to people accusing you of, like, having aim hacks. Or, like, wall hacks, you know, in, like, a first-person shooter. Lowko, turn off your map hacks. It's called, knowing the video game. Yeah, that's what it is. Alright, anyways, let's see. Stalkers and Zealots engaging in the middle of the map, and I don't like this much for Zoun, if I'm being honest with you. This is a great setup for Reynor. Reynor just tries to get Ultras going here. The age of the Roach is over. This will probably be the last Roach. Now that we have invented a better tool... Oh, no, we made another one. Why did we make another one? Roaches and Ultras together is weird, man. Like, they do path a little bit better. So, in the past, they would always get stuck on the Roaches. These days, that's not really the case anymore, because they can push units around. But... There's like a very small timing window. Zoun is not scouting. So this is one of the reasons why Reynor believes this to be a good build. Zoun is not scouting. And the idea is that if you suddenly whip out a bunch of Ultras, they can deal a stupid amount of damage. You could even drop them, I guess? Don't know if that's really necessary. Problem is, if Zoun gets a glimpse of it, if he sees that there's one Ultralisk out, he's immediately going to fire up Immortal production. As long as we don't see Immortals on the production tab, he has not seen it. He doesn't know that he's playing against his army. He's got a single observer out over here. I don't think Reynor has seen it, but either he hasn't walked an Ultra there, or Zoun did just not notice it. We have a bunch of Ultras. Chitinous plating is done. Maybe hiding the Ultras inside of the balloons is the way to go. All right, Observer. Observer right now is going to indeed see what's up. Zoun has to start up Immortals, and there it is. He now notices what he's playing against. Maybe a second Robo facility would not be a luxury. Council, though, on another hatchery. Yeah, Zoun just doesn't have the numbers at this point. I think Reynor needs to go right now. The longer he waits, the worse this is going to be. Zealot run by over here gets cleaned up. Balloons are here too. You can load them up, set them towards the main base, send the Ultras in from the bottom of the map instead. Zoun thinking about going in for the counter-attack, but I believe he's gonna pay for that dearly. There is a Zealot run by, though, inside of the main base. Spawning pool over here, too. Quite annoying, actually, for Reynor to be losing that one. Hatchery in the top left goes down. Ultra, in the meantime, though, that Ultra squad over here, they have cleaned up one of the Nexi. Overlord drop headed into the main base, and they're going to be, well, unloading wherever they can. Keep in mind, these are fully upgraded links now, minus the +3, but Adrenal Glands is a big damage boost. Zealot warp window inside of the main base is going to keep this at bay. Hatchery in the top left goes down. Ultra also is working on one of these expansions over here, though. And the link drop inside of the main base and over here at the third. It is working out wonderfully. Ultra's obviously also good for base defense. Yeah. This is one of those really weird scenarios where Ultras are actually amazing. Lovely work so far in this series by Reynor. Figuring out exactly... which Overlord has the Ultralisk in it? I don't know. Anyway, he's playing Ultra Whack-A-Mole here. It's intelligent player by Reynor, because he looked at the previous games and he's like, look, what do you do if I make Ultras? Like, where in the world do you... Like, how do you counter this? You need Immortals. Now, there are 2 of them out right now. 2 Immortals, though, versus 10 Ultralisks? Ultralisk, drop harass. That's a very old StarCraft meme. If you remember that, first off, you're old. Secondly, shout out to you. Ultralisk drop harass was a good meme between Destiny and Cats way back in the day. They played a 1 versus 1, and Cats was doing a triple Overlord 1 Ultralisk drop, or something like that. And basically the game they were playing is what Overlord is the Ultralisk in? Well, you know what? I don't think it really matters here for Zoun. He doesn't have a counter for the big chompers. And that means that Reynor obtains the victory. And that will take us to a very appropriate map for the day. We find ourselves on Ultra Love. Wait, hold up. Ultra Love. Alrighty. Let's see, what can we do? Do we go for anything weird again? Do we go for any Void Ray into charge all-in? These two seem to be very evenly matched so far, though, which is nice to see. I wonder if Zoun is going to be making any adjustments throughout this particular game. I don't think that's blocking anything. Yeah, that was one of those weird... You can't make a base here, pylons, but then you could just literally make a base right next to it. Luckily for us, Zoun also realized it very quickly. Honestly, the previous game had a lot more Ultralisk love than this one is going to have, more than likely. I don't believe that we're going to be seeing Ultras back-to-back. But then again, I didn't believe we were going to see Zealots back-to-back. And it turns out we didn't just see them back-to-back, we saw them back-to-back-to-back. I guess the 4th game also had Zealots, but that wasn't quite the same thing. Anyway, Oracle first again from Zoun. Zoun apparently now hates Void Rays. Yeah, maybe he's got like a Void Ray quota and he already reached it, you know? Like, if you only are allowed to make, I don't know, 12 Void Rays a week, he already wasted quite a few of them in the previous games, so it is what it is. Now we're going to go into an Oracle first again. Every single time, aka the one time we've seen him go for an Oracle first, it was also the most conventional looking game that he had played so far. Into a Twilight Council, second Oracle, and then good old Blink. Blink with +1. Reynor though mixing it up quite a bit, but not so much in the early game. Difficult really for Zerg to mix up much. They can make small deviations here, a couple of different timings that you can hit early on. It's mostly down to the number of Zerglings you want to produce. So far, Reynor has been making quite a few links early on. So this is, by the way, triple Oracle now, and we don't even have a Twilight Council yet. I'm assuming we're going to see it right now, right over here. Zoun! Oh, this is just a base without a Twilight Council. What? Ah, okay. Well, it's a fortunate Twilight Council now. He wanted to go for some additional adepts instead. This is all very conventional, although obviously these are not particularly quick now. You wanted to add some additional adepts in the mix to maybe open the door for these oracles to swoop in, get some damage done. Spore crawlers need to be respected. He was hitting the Roach Warren right there for a little bit. No energy anymore on one of those oracles though, so this is a little bit spotty, although the adepts on the low ground are getting some work in. Yeah, not a great beginning here for Zoun. Where's the third oracle? Oh, okay, that one's just chilling at home. Probably used for base defense here, because he didn't know exactly where those links were. Generally, though, you do bring the third oracle. What MaxSpecs usually likes to do is he has a group of oracles. So he has like 2 oracles on one control group, then he's got 1 oracle on another control group, and then he's got 1 control group for adepts. Meaning that with that little bit of adept oracle harassment, he uses 3 control groups for it. And it seems to be the way to go. Very difficult, though, to control properly. But he generally gets more damage done than what Zoun just did. Oracles on a little field trip going around the map. Just a bit of sightseeing on the side of the Zerg. The front one, I guess, is the one with the tour guide, right? Like this one definitely has the whistle and the balloon or whatever. This one is the one in charge of telling the other oracles where they need to go. A more experienced oracle, to say the least. It's got 6 kills and no damage taken. Cheeky little proxy pylon in the far top left. Blink coming up together with +1. Roach speed here for Reynor here, and he's also going to follow this up with the +1 missile research. So not really bothering with quick +1 melee this time around, going for the more conventional. Yeah, this used to be the more conventional. I'm not sure exactly if this day and age it's still the case, but he's going straight into the +1 missile. And that'll probably mean he will go for Roaches, Raptors, into Hydras, Lurkers, the whole shebang. Still though, he's got a round of Zerglings from earlier. May as well get some damage with them. Gets a Stalker for now, maybe a few probes as well. In the meantime though, Zoun is being aggressive on the other side of the map as he's got his eyes set on that newly acquired hatchery. This is a relatively short run from the third base of the Protoss player down towards the bottom here on the Zerg side of the map. Good popping of the stasis wards. The entire map is dark and full of stasis. Overseer Scout in the meantime will indeed check to see whether or not there's anything weird going on. Is there like a robo bay, a second... Like, are we going quick fleet beacon, a second robo facility? There's a lot of shenanigans here. None of that is the case, because Zoun has been spending all of his money on making units, and he gets the job done with the units that he's got right now. Transfusion going down though on the Roaches, and this arc here is quite good for Reynor. But he ended up losing the base. This is not really going anywhere for Zerg anytime soon. This is mostly Zerg playing the punching bag strategy, right? Where you just like getting hit in the face. Maybe he can capitalize if Protoss way overextends. He can send these units across and get some damage done. He's gonna try and do that right now with a group of Zerglings, but so far the Stalker dancing has been pretty good. This is basically pure Stalker. Like, Zoun is now playing mono battles. Here's the Zergling run by though, and this could just equalize everything. Reynor has a lot of army. Killing Eco here for the Protoss would be super painful for Zoun. Yep, that's a lot of probes going down. Ooh, that's a good counterattack. He's holding at the front. Yeah, he lost the base. But he just killed an entire base worth of workers. That now has knocked Zoun back to the Stone Age as far as the economies go. Only 2 bases worth of workers. He's not adding on new probes. Instead, we're going for a worker transfer. Yeah, it seems to me when the games are straightforward and quote-unquote standard, Reynor is the better player. Zoun, though, in these last couple games, not really relying on a lot of tricks anymore. Not really trying to play any tricks. He's just going for the most quintessential normal build you can go for as Protoss. But it's just not really working out as well for him as you would like it to be. He's still not making probes, by the way, so he is just completely committed. That means that Reynor doesn't really need to do too much other than make non-stop army of his own, and then eventually counterattack. Like, he's going to max out very soon. His army is going to be absolutely massive. Proxy gate in the top left does get spotted. Yeah, this is going great for Reynor. Yep. So the army size is very rapidly outgrowing that of the Protoss. And Zoun must realize that there's really no way out of this scenario for him. He starts up probe production again, awkwardly. Reynor could do anything right now. I think his best chances are just to go for a committed attack. Well, I like that, though. Trying to get that entire rock tower to collapse on top of the Zerg. Neat little play. Zergling run by now, though, in the natural expansion, or a Roach run by even. It's going to trigger the recall ability. We do have a couple of oracles, 3 of the oracles here at the bottom of the map, and that's a good bit of damage done. They have just achieved more than all those Stalkers have over the last 5 minutes. 1 oracle goes down, 2nd oracle, yeah, should go down too. Oh, Reynor not quite targeting, although he does get the job done eventually regardless, with 1 of the other queens. Tunneling Claws is one of the options here for Reynor. I think going Hive is probably better, but he decides to go Tunneling Claws. He wants to see if he can get this game over with within the next minute or 2. And he may just be right. There's no detection. Yeah, you got oracles, or at least you had them. Now only 1 of them remains. Revelation can be used. There we go. That gives him temporarily detecting, or detection right here of the units underground. The rest of the Zerg army, though, is committing. Reynor has decided to go into an infestation pit as well. His supply count hasn't really dropped because he just keeps reproducing whatever he can. Nice defense, actually, by Zoun, all things considered. I mean, he's half the opponent's supply, so it's... You have to be playing a very well-played game at that point. We even have a single probe getting contaminated now. That's a bit mean. Like, this is bullying right here, Reynor. Bullying is not okay. Reynor wants to take his lunch money next. He's gonna give Zoun a wedgie. It's all very rude. Yeah. You now he sees the little gelled hair as well in these roaches. They got these little spikes, looking very early 2000s to me. And it means that they can tunnel on the ground. Zoun doesn't have any detection, so already a bunch of roaches. I mean, other than that oracle, but no permanent detection. Can only be in one place at a single time. I mean, Zoun is actually... Oh, here we go. Zoun's actually still making this work reasonably well. Reynor trying to... Oh, no! Reynor was trying to unburrow in the middle of that fight, but Zoun ripped off the band-aid. A bit of an anticlimactic ending. Especially sad on Valentine's Day, but it is what it is, and ultimately Reynor does obtain another point on the scoreboard. That means he's now on match point. Now we find ourselves on King's Cove. Massive map, a lot of bases to take. You know what? I've been fast forwarding to minute 2. I think I'm gonna fast forward until the very first Stargate unit pops out. Because there's no denying that we're gonna see some dancing, but ultimately a few Zerglings will be forced out. Alright, and the game begins at minute 3.5. Third Nexus is going to be attempted in just a moment. And it will be a Void Ray beginning once more here for Zoun. By the way, there has always been a lot of debate how you should pronounce Zoun's username. Because for a little while, Zoun used to play with the nickname Into the Zoun? Something like that. So everybody started saying that it's actually supposed to be pronounced as Zoun. And apparently the OU sound or something in Korean is more like an O. And then apparently the J, or like the Y sound is, I don't know, dude. It gets confusing. Some of the Koreans started calling him effectively the English equivalent of John. That one made me very uncomfortable. I'm gonna stick with Zoun. Mostly because it makes sense to me, because in Dutch, the O and the U right next together are pronounced as ow. So, yeah. I've always called him Zoun. But some people are like, Zoun. I don't know. We're gonna go with Zoun. I'll be making the executive decision. I don't think Zoun has, by the way, ever corrected anybody as to how you're supposed to be pronouncing his name, at least not as far as I know. At least not publicly, as far as I'm aware, so... Until he does, I'm not gonna be calling him John. No. John does... No. Zoun it is, dude. And also, I don't really care much. It's fine. Zoun makes the most sense in my head. I mean, we have a Zerg player named Reynor with an E, right? And he's been off-raising as Protoss too lately. You're like, no, Reynor! You're literally the main protagonist of Wings of Liberty! With a typo in your username and you play Zerg and Protoss? Come on, man! What if I told you my name isn't even Lowko? No. My mom did not call me Lowko. My last name is Television, though. My last name is TV. Anyway, Void Race once more right here for the Protoss. And once more, good old charge. So we are going back to what Zoun was doing in the previous games that went way better for him. Seems to me that in the straight-up macro games, Reynor has the edge. Zoun gave it a shot. Didn't really work. So we're back to playing this weird massive Void Ray into charge slot push. It's not even a push. So I default, when I see charge this early on in the production tab, it's not even super early, but I kind of default in thinking that this is going to be a committed push. But what we saw in the previous games where he went for a very similar looking build is that he was mostly playing this as like a macro charge opener. It's a bit weird. Same for the Void Rays. Void Rays are generally quite all-in-y. Or like a specific counter to, for example, Mass Corruptor from the Zerg. But this is him basically finding a pathway to go up towards charge and just to play a macro game. Storm now coming up. I'm assuming we're gonna go and make a 4th Nexus. Yeah. So Zoun is actually just playing a macro game, but off of charge and blink or charge and storm and void race, which is weird. We don't generally see that, but it's working. Again, I can't quite tell if this is actually a good build order, or if it's good because the Zerg players just don't expect it. Reynor right now is reading this well, though. So Reynor is looking at this, again, not just as an individual game that they played earlier. He's adjusting in this particular match to what he has seen in the previous games in this series. So look at him. He's all the way up to pretty much triple digits worth of workers. Reynor is preparing and settling in for a macro game, which is wild when what you have seen is Void Race, Zealots with Charge, and maybe even Storm. Why in the world would you make 100 drones at that point? And maybe it is an overextension. Zoun is going to go ahead and give it a shot, see if maybe he can, well, get some damage done. I wonder if Reynor is going to pay the price for this, because Reynor really extremely greedy. This is Zoun mostly testing the waters. He's not actually very committed. I mean, he made Storm, but he didn't even bring any of the Templar. No, he's going home. He's going home. Maybe just a little bit of creep clearing, but that's it. Fleet beacon now? Reynor actually escapes right here. That was very dicey, though. I'm pretty sure Reynor was also thinking to himself there, oh god, did I just completely misread this? It's one of those situations, right, where right now he looks pretty brilliant, but it could have actually looked extremely bad. You just kind of died to a bunch of Zealots showing up. Like, this is one of those setups where if Protoss would have made, like, 18 Zealots, you just lose. Yeah, it's a bit... Okay, anyways, once more, Ultra Cavern coming up. This is a differently timed Ultra Cavern, though, and I don't really know if I love it, because we already have a Fleet Beacon, and we already have additional Stargates coming up. I would imagine by the time that we see any sort of Ultra hit the battlefield, we'll probably already be up to the Mama Ship. If he starts it up anytime soon, he will be able to. Immortal production has already begun as well. Zoun is looking around. He hasn't seen the Ultra Cavern, but he's going to get confirmation of it right now. And that's big. What else would it ever be at this point in time? Could be a Nidus network, but not really the position for one. I'm hoping he's going to continuously produce Immortals here, because that means that the Ultras can be countered quite effectively. Yeah, cool way to get to a macro game. Once more, Reynor loading up the balloons. We have seen a lot of balloons. Maybe it's somebody's birthday or something, I don't know. But once more, we're going to be sending them across the map. Double Spire coming up. So Reynor is playing extremely greedy. This is basically 100 drones before ever making any proper army. And he's getting all the tech, economy, everything extremely quickly. There's Mamado coming up. And we already have a good army up in the air here too for Zoun. I mean, it's mostly just those Void Rays for now, but he will be adding in additional Tempest too. Some Zealots going around the map. Oh, great scout. It's a surprise party. You're not supposed to see the balloon, Zoun. God. You don't know anything about surprise parties? Well, Reynor hoped that his opponent didn't notice. To be fair, generally when Protoss shift queue Zealots around the map, they don't really pay much attention to them. But Zoun has now left a bunch of those Void Rays on patrol right outside of the main base. And I think he realizes that the surprise party may be in the making. He hates surprises, especially when it's Zerglings raining from the skies. And this will get intercepted now. Okay. Ultimately, what Zoun is doing is buying time. So he is trying to just build that ultimate Protoss Death Ball that he has already been using very effectively in previous games. Abyssal Reef, most notably. Neural Parasite coming up for Reynor. We have double upgrades in the Spire. We have double Ultralisk upgrades as well. Double ground upgrades. We're going into Burrow. Reynor is shopping right now like he's never gonna run out of cash, and he can do whatever he likes at this point in the game. He's got a big round of Banelings. This is extremely difficult to beat as Protoss. At least in the previous patches, this is basically an unwinnable situation for Protoss. These days, not really the case anymore. We've seen a lot of Protoss players play the macro game brilliantly as of late. The new balance patch, of course, aiding quite nicely in that regard as well, but this is such a greedy game by Reynor. He basically just played the greediest possible reasonable game against Protoss here. And he's just doing everything he needs. He's making all the right decisions to be able to win the macro game. Problem is, every Zerg player I've seen in this situation, with the exception of Serral, have lost from this exact spot. So, this cannot really be, in my mind, a better late game setup than what Reynor has right now. This entire game has been leading to, like, the ultimate Zerg late game. My only concern is that he's going Ultras together with Infestors. So the idea, I guess, is to take Neural Parasite as his main weapon of choice to counter Skytles for now. And then remax with, where are they? The double Spire units. So a big Corruptor switch. That'll probably be his main goal. He doesn't quite have enough gas for that at this point yet, but that's also because he's been making a lot of Banelings. And admittedly, they haven't really achieved that much yet. But let's see. Push over here in the middle of the map. Ultras decide to not take the risk. Zerglings will be able to finish the job, and another expansion gets denied. Zoun has been sitting on his bases for quite a long time. Couple of attempted run-bys, but nothing all too crazy. This is a bit of a weird game now to me, right? Because both players are playing this like they can't lose. Like, Reynor's been playing so greedily, I kind of feel like he's been sitting here very comfortably, and he's thinking, yo, I can do whatever I like. This is great. And Zoun likewise as well. He's like, yo, I have got my maxed out army already. This is great. Who's actually ahead in this situation? If this is Serral playing, I would say Serral. I'm not so sure, though, if anybody else is actually truly confident at this phase in the game. Dark Shrine coming up as well here for Zoun. +1 air even researching. We have double Observer to round out the unit comp. How many Stargates do we have? There's 3. Wouldn't be too surprised if he adds more into the mix as well over the next few minutes, because he's got an awful lot of stuff. Difficult, of course, to engage. Neural Parasite is going to be Reynor's main goal, and that's exactly what he's hunting for right now. Can he take control of some of these Protoss units? Well, I think these are ripe for the taking. Yeah, gets a couple of them. Recall on the remainder, though. Quick clicking here by Zoun, who ends up, see one of those Infestors Neurals? He ends up losing a few of his troops. At the very least, I say that. There's not really much here to actually finish all of his off. Some good feedbacks here as well. Some nice storms. Zoun panicked for a little bit, but then decided, you know what, I can just fight this. Again, excellent crisis management here by the Protoss player from Korea. We do have a good fungal growth, though, and that's going to take care of a bunch of those units. Still enough Immortals in the back, though, to absolutely destroy the Ultras. Reynor is thinking, though, that what he needs is more Ultras? I don't believe that that is the case. I'm pretty sure more Ultras will just be more death. It's a lot of Ultras. He's going mass Ultra. So Serral's been playing like Corruptor Brute Lord from these positions instead. Very different approach here from Reynor. Additional Ultras, though, are popping out of their cocoons as we speak. Ultras now going into the front. Immortals micro towards the back. We have Archons in the front trying to see if they can soak up some of the damage. Tempest up in the air. Mothership also. Not inconsequential. Like 11 kills by itself. Additional Tempest show up. Immortals are produced on the other side of the map. In the meantime, we've had some Zealots and Dark Templar going to town too. So 44 drones die. This is an absolute tilter of a game for Reynor now. Like, this is the type of game where he could do whatever he liked, and he did whatever he liked, and then, yeah, he lost. I mean, this seems like a game where he can't possibly be getting anything done anymore. He lost essentially all of his economy in just a matter of minutes, and Zoun has lost very little. Like, what has Zoun lost? Not a single flying unit. Yeah, he lost 5 Immortals and 7 Archons, a couple Templar and all that, but those are all very replenishable when Zoun has this much money. Zoun also, in the meantime, by the way, got this base up and running again, which is lovely. Reynor decides to go more Ultras. I don't know, guys. One of the big issues you run into with Ultras too is that, like, yeah, you max them out real quick, but also you max them out real quick. So, this Protoss army is only gonna get better. The Ultras have already peaked. Like, they were at their strongest a few minutes ago. they're gonna get worse over time, with Protoss getting stronger over time. Like, this isn't even Zoun's final form. Zoun is effectively a Super Saiyan right now, but it turns out he's been training. And this wasn't even his full strength yet. He's just doing a little bit of creep clearing for now. We'll have to see when he decides to once more head across the map. Reynor, though, has decided to take a page out of the Protoss and the Terran's book. He has not rebuilt any of the workers that he's lost. So he's sitting only at 44 drones. He still has a bit of a bank, but his army is absolutely massive. 155 army supply for Zerg is pretty much unheard of. Before like minute 40, that's not usually what we see. Protoss at significantly less as far as the supply count goes. Zoun, though, taking it easy. Zoun is not in a rush. Apparently, this is the moment that we do decide to commit. Only 3 Immortals in the mix. I don't like that too much. I think he needs a bit more. Still, though, it'll be pretty much impossible for Corruptors to engage with this many Archons underneath. Neural Parasite on one of the Archons as well. Is this good enough for Reynor as he comes in with all of the Neural Parasites? We do have a recall as well as the units decide to tap away. Okay. Zoun looked at that army and he realized, nope. That ain't it. That is way more Ultras than I was anticipating. I need to just dip and take the losses. That was a good fight for Reynor. Reynor decides to make more Ultras. I think what you do here as Zoun is just make as many Immortals as you can possibly produce. Just all the Immortals in the world. Neural Parasites, though, on Immortals will also make them kill other Immortals real quick. What a game here for Reynor. Reynor has got this one, well, very close right now. Can he obtain the victory in this best of 7 series as the Corruptors swoop in? Ultras in the meantime, though, in the front. We have a lot of Stalkers getting warped in as well. The majority of the Corruptors have now, yeah, they've killed everything up in the air. Some Neural Parasites are wearing off on the Archons and the Immortals. And it looks like the ground army will indeed maintain its strength. The static defense there joining in too. It means that Zoun evens up the score. And that takes us to El Dorado. Final game in this best of 7 series. I wanted to believe in the strength of the Ultralisk, but I am once more reminded that I shouldn't. That was yeah, that was one of the games of all time for Zerg. I always feel like Reynor wanted to make a point there, you know? It's almost like Reynor had an argument with somebody and they said, yo, you know what you should make? Just make Ultralisks. Protoss can never stop you. And then Reynor was basically in the perfect situation to make all the Ultras he ever wanted. And he made about, how many Ultras did he make that game? Maybe about 30? Yeah, they were nice the first time around. They were good the second time around. But when Zoun actually started taking them seriously, it turns out they were what the kids would call mid. Well, either way, with all of that settled and done, El Dorado is going to be the final map. And this is a big map. A lot of bases. Reynor is taking the expansion up north. So this is away from where Protoss generally expands to. Although there's obviously also a chance that Zoun will take the expansion north of his natural. A lot of the games are decided when players go to the bottom of the map. So you can take a third over here. Mine the gold base from the wrong side. Generally, you're supposed to be mining it from the other side, but we see a lot of gold bases mined from this angle here instead, and it gives you a massive economy. Reynor has decided to just not go in that direction whatsoever. It's going to be a Void Ray after an Oracle here for Zoun. I don't mind it. What do you do here, though, as Reynor, right? Do you really want to play the macro game again? It seems so far to me that Zoun hasn't beaten the early game. Zoun hasn't beaten the late game. Mid game is where maybe Zoun is a little bit more vulnerable. But then again, these build orders that Zoun is going for with the weird charge and the mass Void Ray shenanigans and quick storms and all that, it seems to be one of those strats that is very hard to break. I'm not exactly sure what sort of attack from the Zerg player would really work against those sorts of openers from Protoss the best. Reynor, though, is making adjustments throughout this series, and I'm not really noticing that to the same extent in Zoun's gameplay. Reynor definitely playing very differently depending on the information that he has gathered over the course of the games, right? So maybe he's figured something out. More Void Rays coming up. This is a second Void Ray now. I'm assuming we'll see wait, really? No Twilight Council? Okay. Twilight Council and Forge. Based on the previous games, I would imagine this has to be charged with +1 again into Quick Storm. Likely not going to be an all-inning variant here, but it is certainly a little odd. Zoun apparently happy to just do a little bit of creep clearing here with the units that he's got, so using Revelation from the Oracle and the lasers here from the Void Ray just to clear out the map. And to be a bit of a nuisance. Maybe allowing those Adepts to get more damage done than they ordinarily should be able to. We have a lair just about to finish up. Evo Chamber coming up as well. Oh, and these Adepts, they could hurt. They could hurt! 2 drones, instant recall. I love the fast recall. And there it is indeed, once more the Templar Archives. No charge. No charge at all. Huh. I almost wonder if he forgot it. Nah, there's no way. I think he's doing this on purpose. Charge is a relatively cheap upgrade, but I'm assuming we're gonna be... Oh. Sorry, did anything else get sent? Sorry, 5 minutes, please. Thanks, ready, go, go. 5 minutes?! That's a long time. Especially on Valentine's Day. No, no. Anyways, it is indeed going to be... Okay, it is going to be Storm and it is going to be Charge. I wonder if he meant to start up the charge upgrade sooner. It probably doesn't matter, because generally you don't want to move out anyway. But if Reynor decides to go for a big attack, charge definitely does make it easier. This is actually going to be very committed. Void Race coming in from the north, trying to see if they can potentially buy some time here, because that is what Reynor is aiming for right now. Or what Zoun, rather, is aiming for right now. Looks like one of the Voids is gonna sacrifice itself. I don't really love that. No, that was not optimal. High Templar gets surrounded over on the low ground, and Arkle gets morphed in, but that does still mean less storms. Reynor actually is just gonna go for hyper aggression now, as he's bringing everything that he's got across the map. Losing one Void right there is extremely painful. Okay, Photon Cannon together with a shield battery and the natural expansion too. Reynor, though, has decided that this is the attack that he needs. No charge done. If he had charge here, that would make the base defense 10 times easier. It is going to finish within the next half minute, but I wonder if he meant to start that up a little bit sooner. Storm is just about to be done as well, but obviously he lost 2 of the Templar at the front, so now he doesn't have the energy to actually use the Scythe Storm ability. Oh no. Well, it seems to me that everything just came crashing down for Zoun. Couple small mistakes that have very significant consequences. There are some shield batteries over here, but he's invested into charge, he's invested into storm, but he doesn't really have any units that can use it. There's like one zealot, another one. Okay, that one's going to charge at a whole load of roaches and ravagers too. Bunch of the overlords are now brought to the front as well to provide some creep. Yep, so Brenda can use her transfusion ability if she wants it. But I think she wants to continue dealing some damage there to those Void Rays. Additional queens coming up. Probes are starting to fall as well. If Zoun holds with this many probes, he's going to be okay. But I don't think this is going to be over anytime soon. Reynor right now smelling blood in the water. His only concern, I guess, is that there's not a lot of anti-air. Most of the anti-air right now is in the form of those corrosive biles. The fact that Reynor killed one of the Voids on the other side of the map, absolutely massive. Good stasis wards over here too, though. But imagine one additional Void Ray in the mix. Imagine those 2 High Templar saved and 2 Storms at the beginning of this fight. Imagine a couple of those Zealots, right, having charge earlier on too. All of that would have made a significant difference. Still, Zoun is trying to hold. He's trying to see if he can keep this base going. We do have some corrosive biles, meaning that, well, a force field can't just block the entirety of this Zerg army, but it doesn't look to me like Reynor really cares. He's just trying to force his way up towards the high ground. Already loads of workers have gone down. Another force field is indeed going to get popped. And rather than going after the Nexus, Reynor is going for the throat. He wants to see if he can win this series right here, right now. And it seems to me that the floodgates have been opened. There's pretty much no way that Zoun is going to be able to hold. GG gets cold. And it's our Italian Zerg player that obtains the victory.